Welcome to today's episode of the Group X podcast. I'm your host, Tony Zanato. Today, I'll be talking to Inge Gnatt, team coach for Body Balance and trainer and presenter for Les Mills Core and Les Mills Bar. Inclusivity. It is about giving equal access and opportunities and getting rid of the discrimination and stigma within the fitness industry. Challenging our own biases because we can now build self-awareness and do better. So grab your favourite beverage, sit back and enjoy the show. Inge, welcome to the Group X podcast. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so grateful you said yes when I reached out, so I really do appreciate this, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better, and I'm sure my guests are as well, listeners are as well. So let's kick it off right from the beginning. How did you get into the fitness industry? Where does your journey begin?
Well, my journey actually begins in the 1980s. Yes, I am that old. Um, my mum, shout out to mum, Jill, used to go to Les Mills Gym in Wellington. So I'm actually from Wellington.
Oh, wow.
And yep, and I remember I have a vivid memory of going to the gym with my mum, and they must have had a crate because I was looking down from some kind of room down into what would have been the group fitness studio. And my mum was doing jazzergetics.
Yep.
And at that time I was doing ballet myself. And I remember thinking, wow, what are they doing? What is my mummy doing?
Jazzergetics. Wow.
Yep. So, I suppose she was probably my very first fitness role model.
Yeah.
And my mum is someone who's kind of really takes pride in herself and has always been pretty fit and into like different trends and stuff. So I've always grown up around that.
Yeah.
And then I didn't kind of think about that again until the late 90s.
Yep.
And at that stage, I was a full-time ballet student at the New Zealand School of Dance. And over the summer break, I joined Les Mills myself.
Yep.
To keep fit and to just sort of, maintain my fitness over the Christmas period.
Yeah.
And just do something different. Like I'd been doing Pilates for years and obviously lots and lots of ballet.
Yep.
But yeah, so there was like, so I went to the gym, and at first I really honestly did not like it. I used to kind of go there and do a few things because we paid for a personal trainer to create a program for me.
Yep.
And then I'm not sure when this happened, but I think some of the sort of instructors on the gym floor were group fitness instructors as well. So they had sort of this thing where, from what I can remember, they had like gym instructors on the floor that were sort of early career PTs, and they would gain experience and begin to network with members so that then when they launched their their PT business, they would be able to get some clients.
Yep.
So anyway, they were always really great to talk to, and through that it must have been I tried a body combat class, and I became really obsessed with body combat. And
Excellent.
there's a few people that cannot believe that.
Yes.
And I think this was around the time that body combat actually was launched.
Yep.
And so I used to go to so many body combat classes. I absolutely loved it. And the reason I think that I loved it was because the caliber of the people teaching it at that gym at that stage was just unbelievable.
Yep.
I'm talking Tracy Minnock,
Yep.
Dave Nuku, Joe Hopapa, Teresa Elwood,
Some legends.
Charlotte Hawley. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like when you look back on them and we know where they've all gone now.
Yeah.
It's no surprise that my experience was so fun. It was just
Yeah.
really, really fun
Yep.
and so
Yep.
different to what I was enduring day in and day out in a full-time ballet school. So
Yeah.
that was where I sort of um, first enjoyed group fitness.
Yep. Yep. Brilliant. So,
Um,
can I ask a quick question on ballet?
and yep, yes,
When did you
yeah, sure.
when did you start pardon me, when did you start your ballet?
I think I was either 2 or 3,
Oh wow, so
but
really, really young.
really, really, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Like basically, as soon as I could speak, I
yep,
was begging,
yep.
begging to go. And I've got an older sister, and of course, the younger sister always copies the older
The other sister,
sister.
yes, yep, yep.
Yeah, so she was doing ballet, and um, apparently, Mum said that every week I would say, "Can I please start ballet now?"
Okay.
And they'd say, if you sit down really quietly, maybe you can start next week. And then I think that dragged on.
Yep.
But I was so young when I started that each year, whenever I would sit my ballet exam, I was always too young to actually sit the exam.
Oh wow.
And so, yeah, and I remember they'd be like, "Now, how old are you if the examiner asks you?" I'm 7, and I'm actually only 6.
I'm this many.
So, yeah, ballet. I know. Yeah, so and like if you know me, you know I'm pretty short anyway. I'm sure I was probably not the tallest kid.
Yep.
So they must have been like, "Wow, this kid is very short for
Yep.
7." But that was how it went with ballet. So I really
Yep.
just, yeah, I never doubted for a second whether I loved ballet. And I remember I went to this audition when I was 9, and we were living in Christchurch at the time, and it was just like there was this switch that went off, and um, I was like, "This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life," and I
Yep.
just suddenly kind of got it. It was like I'm a ballet dancer,
Yep.
and so that was really the beginning of it. And I did actually successfully audition for that part. So it was like a kid's part with the Royal New Zealand Ballet. And to give you again a bit of context, they when we got there, they lined us up into height order. I was number 4, and there were more than 100 kids.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so number 4, she did get in,
Yep.
and I got to dance in a ballet called La Sylphide, which is just this absolutely beautiful Danish ballet. And yeah, and so then when I was 16, um, I announced to my parents that I was leaving school,
Oh wow.
and I was really good at school, so
Goodness.
I
So
think the
to,
school was pretty shocked, and
wow.
yeah, but my parents are very much of the view that if you're passionate about something and you're
Yeah.
willing to work hard, then you should give it a go.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
they've done nothing but support every crazy idea that I've had.
Wow.
There's been a few of them. Yeah, like pretty much could not ask for any more. So
Yeah.
yeah, I auditioned for the New Zealand School of Dance and got in and left
Awesome.
school.
My God. So 16,
Yep.
what's that? Year 10?
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow.
Yep.
Good on
Did year
you.
10.
Yep. That's
Well,
brilliant.
would
That's
I recommend it? I don't know.
I love that though, because that's unique to you. It's your story, yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I really enjoy hearing those stories when I chat to people because it's not an everyday story that you hear, and it's helped you become the
No.
person you are today because you did that. You know, how was ballet at the age of 16? What were you? That would have been massive. I just remember back to being
Yeah.
at the end of year 10 and thinking, oh, well, I don't know what I want to do yet. I still don't know what I want to do. One day I'll grow up and I'll work out, you know, what I want to be when I grow up.
Mm.
But at the age of
I think
16,
it's interesting you should say that, because I remember one of my best friends, Nat, who is a highly successful in her career. I remember when we were maybe 17 or something, and we were hanging out, and she said, "You're so lucky that you know what you want to do." And at that age, I didn't really know. I didn't think much of that comment, and
Yep.
it is so it is such a valid comment, because who does know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really unusual that you'd be so strong-willed that there's really nothing else that you'd want to do.
Yeah.
And for me, that was ballet. Like,
Yeah.
I lived and breathed it.
Yeah.
There was nothing else that I wanted to do. And how was that experience? Well, it was pretty mixed.
Yep.
It was there was good and bad in that. And I actually only went to that school for 2 years, because halfway through my second year, I actually broke my leg. I
Oh.
jumped up and I landed from the jump, and my leg just snapped.
Oh.
And yeah, I know.
Oh.
So that was a bummer.
I'm just picturing that.
And
Sorry. It was a. Oh.
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. And honestly, it didn't really hurt that much. And when I had the X-ray and she said, "Yeah, you're not going to be dancing for a while," I was like, "Oh, as if."
Yeah,
And
sure.
and
Try
then
and
she
stop me.
like literally points at the X-ray and she's like, "See that line through it? That's a break."
Oh.
Oh, okay.
How long were you out of
Yeah.
action for?
Oh, honestly, I can't remember. A couple of months.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then I did go back, but I think I had changed quite a lot as a person,
Yeah.
and I realized that that probably wasn't the best environment for me.
Yep.
And then, to cut a long story short, I ended up transferring over to Melbourne, to
Okay.
the Victorian College of the Arts.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's another full-time training school.
Yep.
We contacted them and they said, "Oh no, sorry, we're full. You can't come."
Oh.
And so I don't know how my mum did it, but she's like, "Oh, are you sure?"
Go, Mum.
And I know, this is what I'm talking about. Talk about having your back. So
Yep.
then, anyway, then mum and I were on the plane on our way over to Melbourne,
Love
and
it.
we went to the school, and I did a few classes, and they were like, "Oh, okay, you can come." So then I think a week and a half later, I moved to Melbourne by myself.
At the age of.
Well, I just turned 18.
Wow.
Yep.
Moving
And I
country
didn't
to
think
live
really
by yourself
by myself.
and do.
Yeah.
Okay.
No worries.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's easy.
I
Easy done.
know.
Yeah, no worries at all. Wow.
I don't think I'd feel like that now.
No. Yes. What a beginning.
So,
That's amazing.
yep. And that was a brilliant 3 years. Like, that was a really good fit for me.
Yep.
And then the other great thing about it is that I was able to earn a bachelor's degree,
Yep.
which was very, very helpful when around about 10 years later, I was like exploring other options.
Yep.
It was quite helpful to have that degree, considering that I had actually only gone to year 10 at school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you
And
can,
funny story. So, yeah.
No, go. Keep going. Sorry.
So when I moved to Melbourne, I was living in South Yarra.
Yep.
And at the time, I was missing my body combat classes.
Yeah.
And I used to go to a couple of the gyms around that area in South Yarra and Armidale. And I found this instructor who I thought was pretty good. So I used to pay $10 for a casual visit and go
Yep.
and do a couple of classes. It was Lisa Osborne.
Yeah, she's pretty good. Yeah.
I know. And I'm sure we'll get to this, but then several years later, when I was working at Les Mills and I saw her on a poster, I was like, "Oh, I know her."
Yeah.
And then my colleague at the time informed me that she was kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Who?
Oh, she's pretty good. She's
all right. She's a good instructor. Yeah. This is the Group X podcast. what are you doing these days? Now, I know you're instructing, I know you're teaching and training, presenting, that kind of stuff, but what is your full-time gig? What do you do for full-time work?
Well, yeah, at the moment, I am about to complete a PhD in clinical psychology.
Look at you. From
Yep,
the girl that left school at the age of 16 in year 10 to doing what you're doing.
yep.
That's congratulations,
Mm,
by the way. Congratulations. That is a
thank you.
huge thing. Anyone that can go and study, I believe, is you've got some brains in you. I went to year 12, but I didn't go to uni. I've just had experience, and I've been very lucky with everything I've done. But anyone that can go and study and spend time doing it, hats off to you. I think that's huge, especially a
Thank you.
PhD.
Yeah.
My God. Yeah.
It's a huge privilege and I guess bonus in my life to have been able have had this opportunity to pursue something else that I'm deeply passionate about.
Yep.
And again, I feel like I'm just giving massive props to my parents here, but my mum and my stepdad, John, when I was sort of starting to take ballet quite seriously as a young teen. Um, John's got a significant background in sport, so he was a really good sportsman
Yep.
and has always been quite fascinated by that. And he was like, I think it would be helpful to do some sessions with a sports psychologist. And of course, I had no idea what that meant.
Yep.
But there was this guy um, that came to our house a few times and did these really practical, fantastic sessions on things like goal setting, um, being able to sort of stay focused under pressure, how to take loss, because at that stage I was doing competitions and hot tip, you don't always win.
Yeah.
and and like, I mean, let's be honest, that's life, right? We
Yep.
don't always win. We often don't get what we want. Things often don't turn out how we thought they would.
Yeah.
So and as a young person, of course, your brain is still developing and you have to learn how to cope with those things, and in something as individual as ballet
Yep.
or dance, you kind of need to be able to hold that yourself.
Yep.
Your parents aren't always there, and
Yeah.
and they weren't like really full on ballet parents. I think a lot of people have these parents that hover over them.
Yep.
um, well, I didn't have that because that's just not how we roll.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
I'd be like, "Oh, can you do this? Can you help me with this?" And then other times, "No, I'm good. I can do this one by myself.
Yep.
Just I'm happy for you to just drop me off. It's
Yeah.
fine." Um, yeah, so they certainly weren't living vicariously through me, which I think is unfortunately quite common.
Yep. Yep. They weren't being dance mum, dance dad.
Not at all.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
no.
That's cool. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I know it's
Yeah.
a little bit off topic, but I just wanted to get a background on you as outside of group exercise stuff, just to understand a little bit more what you've been through. And I appreciate you sharing. So thank you so much for that.
No worries.
How did you then? You know, I understand you had an obsession with body combat, and if I can call it an obsession, then I will. But it's how did it evolve from that? How did you get into doing training? What was your first module? Give us a little bit about that if you can.
Yeah. Okay. So then I finished at BCA and I was living in Melbourne doing predominantly project sort of stuff. And because I'd shifted more towards contemporary dance and it was pre-social media, so
Was there
probably I
a
should have
time?
saved up.
Was there a time pre-social media?
Yeah. And it was
It was
great.
fantastic, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You
Those are the
lived in
carefree
the real
days.
world.
Yeah. Yeah. Where you had to make plans with your friends and when you're going to the movies and say, "I'll meet you outside
Yeah.
McDonald's at 12 o'clock, okay? See you on the bus.
Yes.
I'll meet you down by the mall, okay?"
Yeah, yeah. Don't be late. You know, the movie starts at 12.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I kind of yeah, so probably in hindsight should have saved up my money and backed myself and gone over to Europe, but I really just didn't know how.
Yep.
So after a while, I thought, oh, I'm missing my family. I'm going to move. I'll go back to Wellington. So I did. I moved back to Wellington, and then I thought, oh, I don't really know what to do for a job.
Yep.
And then it was then that I thought, oh, well, I did enjoy the gym, so maybe I'll try and get a job at Les Mills on reception.
Yep.
And they didn't have any reception jobs at the time, but they had sales roles.
Yes.
And I had no idea what that really meant, but I went for the job and ended up getting it.
Excellent.
And yeah, so funnily enough, I really enjoyed it. And I think it was a combination of I had an excellent, excellent leader,
Yep.
Karen Pennington. She was really outstanding. And so I looked forward to going to work every day.
Brilliant.
And what was so great about her leadership is that she enabled me to use the sort of tools and methodology that Les Mills had in terms of the way that they um, completed the sales process, but also in a way that was, and I know you hate this word, authentic to me.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is that, sure, we want people to join the gym. And this
Yep.
also aligned really well with Les Mills' sort of view on things. We weren't told to sell hard and just make everyone join. It was like, see what they need, and if it's appropriate, then you facilitate them joining the gym and you
Yep.
try and help them to be successful.
Yeah.
So setting some realistic kind of goals and then helping them to navigate getting started in the gym.
Yeah.
And then there was this whole sort of process around the first, I think it was 3 months from memory, just setting them up for success, because at the end of the day, what the company is about is it is about trying to get people fitter.
Yep.
And so that means that it's important to meet people where they're at, and not to be saying, oh, you've got to be this and you've got to be that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I worked in sales and occasionally worked out.
Yep.
Really, I had a bit of a break, to be honest.
Yep.
Did the odd class here and there. Tried a bit of body balance, not much though. And then my friend Megan, we were recruited together. So we got along really, really well. And she was obsessed with Body Attack. So her days revolved around going to the Body Attack classes, and I just thought it was really weird. And would occasionally pop my head in and just seemed pretty full on.
Was that lady there teaching that, that one that you'd come across in Melbourne?
Oh, Lisa. No, but there were a whole lot of other very fit, buff people teaching.
Yep.
Including someone who then became a really, really close friend of mine, Arnica.
Yep.
And eventually I tried a Body Attack class out. I would have been wearing super baggy clothes and like long trackies.
Yep. The right outfit for attack. We should add. Yeah, the perfect outfit for attack.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, and some kind of inappropriate footwear.
Yep.
But I do remember, I think I lasted about 2 tracks because everyone did like the 4 walks forward and then a clap, and then they all started walking backwards and I kept walking forward.
Oh, well. Sorry, I know I shouldn't have laughed as hard as I did then. That was brilliant.
I know. And it was just, I mean, yeah, it would not have been good.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I got to control myself. Oh, wow. Yep.
It would have been very unathletic because I've never played a sport in my life.
Yep.
Even because I did do well at school, I was encouraged to take additional subjects, and that meant that I didn't do PE.
Yep. Yep.
So I didn't even have to do sport at school. So
God.
while I am coordinated and have good, you know,
Yep.
lots of really great sort of physical abilities,
Yep.
I'm not sporty at all. It's quite foreign to me, and I think that's fine, you know, like
Yep.
we've all got different strengths.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So yeah, and then I kind of I got into it a bit, and I mostly did Annika's classes because what we would do is that she used to teach this Saturday. I think it was about 5 p.m. So we'd go and do her class together, and then we would get ready and go out and have dinner, and then go out to the clubs.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, so we used to do a bit of that, and then I decided in 2000, and I had no interest in teaching at all. Like the thought had never even
So,
crossed my
yeah.
mind
Yep.
at all.
Yep.
No, not even in the slightest.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed the classes.
Yeah. For what they
Just
were.
enjoyed them
Yep.
myself. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And then in late 2007, I thought, oh, I might pop back to Melbourne for the summer. So
Yep.
booked a flight back to Melbourne, and on the way to Melbourne, all my friends from Les Mills were doing, I think it was a GFX.
Yep.
It was a GFX, and it included a filming. So I tagged along and went to a few of the filmings, including Body Balance and Body Attack.
Yep.
And maybe Step. And it was the one where Kirsty and Dean came over from Australia, and
Yes.
do you know them?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so Kirsty, Robbie, and Dean
Yep.
Lightbody.
I've met them. I haven't met them, but I
Like
know
amazing.
of them, I should say. I know of them through Rach.
Yeah, yeah. So they're pretty awesome. And yeah, and then I moved back to Melbourne and got a job in retail.
Yep.
And while I was there, it was at Melbourne Central, and so there was the Fitness First upstairs, and I'll join Fitness First.
Yep.
So joined Fitness First, and it was at that point that I then got really into the gym,
Yep.
and I started to really enjoy getting fitter and stronger, and probably I was a bit mentally bored.
Yep.
So it gave me something
An outlet.
interesting to
Yeah.
kind of to spend my time doing.
Yep. Yep.
And I got into really great shape and was just really fit. And of course, your body can take that when you're in your 20s. It
Can't it what?
recovers quickly and
Yes.
quite similar to now, just a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I'll agree with you as I nod and go, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Keeping in mind growing old is a huge privilege.
Yes.
But
so true.
It was probably encouragement from Annika, and I reckon, support from the instructors at the gym as well.
Yep.
And that's when I booked in and did my training.
Brilliant.
For Body Attack.
Yep. Body Attack was your first program.
Body Attack was number one. Yeah, I was hardcore, man.
From walking forward and clapping and still walking forward. Sorry. I'm still there on that. Yeah, I love that. I wish I was a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
That would have been fantastic.
Oh, I know. And look, I still do some unco things. And
I think we all do, don't we? That's life.
Whatever.
If you're not, it's like, God, come on, seriously.
Yep. It's totally fine.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would have been early 2008, I think.
Yep.
And that was with Dean, in fact.
Cool. Okay. Mm-hmm. Where was that training done at?
That was at what's now Good Life Glen Iris.
This is the Group X podcast. And how was that training for you? How was that experience of learning? I mean, obviously ballet, that's pre-choreographed and you need to understand it all, but how was learning say that word again, Tony. Pre-choreography for Body Attack. Did you pick up on it easily? Was it an easy thing for you to grasp? How was that? Tell us a bit about that if you can.
I think so. But that was probably mainly because I was doing so much of it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I went to the module knowing the release from start to finish, every tiny little detail.
Love that. Yep. I would expect
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
less.
I mean,
Yep.
jeez. Yeah,
Yep.
and I got track 8. Oh, here's a funny story. I remember presenting the track 8 on day 2, I think it was,
Yep.
and, like, in my mind, it needed to be a big performance.
Yep.
And we had to go up into the upstairs studio, but I still made it big. So I was like really running forward and really kicking, probably a little too much, to be honest, but whatever. Like, go me, wholehearted enthusiasm.
You've got to go there in order to bring it
Yeah,
back. I appreciate that. It's
yeah,
you don't want to be going, if you go all the way, then you can tone it down when you need to. I appreciate that big time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I practiced so much, like practiced my track intro again and again and again. And then what I was going to do for each of the bits. Yeah,
Scripting and getting it
it
all.
was pretty funny.
I'm assuming then you obviously passed. You passed to teach.
Yeah,
Yeah. Of course you would
yeah,
have.
I did. And you know what? So I used to travel down to Armidale and teach with Dean every Tuesday night because I'd been attending his classes. And yeah, so I'd go down there each week and teach with him. And he was just super generous with his help and his time.
Yep.
And I taught with Kirsty as well. And then I taught with this girl called Rach, who was covering for him. And
Do I know her?
and I think you might. Yeah, I think you might know her quite well. So, and she was really nice. So I thought, oh, this Rach chick, she's pretty cool. And then she was doing the cool down, and I looked at her and I was hearing the way that she was speaking, and then at the end of the class I said, "Do you have 2 sisters?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I know both of them." So her 2 sisters were, I think, the year above and the year below me at the VCA.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
No way. Check that out.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I
And it
love
was
that.
Rach lent me her class so that I could film my certification.
Oh, go Rach.
I
We
know.
won't blow too much smoke,
I know. Top chick.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I started
we
teaching.
we can't say that too often because, I've got to live with her.
Well, yes. But she was awesome. Yeah, I was
Yes.
just really, really lucky. But also I worked really relentlessly hard
Yep.
on getting up to the level that I thought was good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done you. I think
Thanks.
that's brilliant. Yeah. What was next? What was your next program after Attack?
Well, I think it might have been body balance. So at that stage, I had some really fantastic group fitness managers that I was working for. And one of them was Craig. So he was the GFM at Melbourne Central and was so supportive, and used to put on like really cool launches and stuff. It was just a great time to be in group fitness, to be honest.
Yep.
And I think I honestly can't quite remember, but I think he called me one day and he said, "I've booked you into RPM." And I said, "I don't want to do RPM. It's boring."
You're
And he
doing
goes, "But you
training.
always do RPM." And I'm like, "I know that's because my friend teaches the class."
Yeah. Not because I
So
want to
yes, I
teach
did
it.
do RPM, but it was something different. And
Yep.
one of my best friends, Sammy, was teaching, and it was kind of like that.
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then I think he called me back and he goes, "I've booked you into body balance." And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I guess, I suppose I can do that
I
one."
think I can do that.
So I reluctantly, honestly, attended body balance training. Isn't that terrible?
I know,
Yeah, I wasn't really into it.
I love it. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I did
I
it.
know.
Yeah, it was free, and I went and did it, and Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. All right, I'll do body balance then. Lucky. Lucky I did. Yeah, and that was with Marina, who was amazing. And I really enjoyed it. And I I mean, I guess I was probably quite good. I honestly don't know. I'm sure I think I probably had potential and I was okay. But she was super, super encouraging, and so then I started teaching body balance.
Yep.
And then somewhere in there I also trained in body step.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Which
And it
program do
was
you?
around, yeah,
So, which program do you feel you fit best in?
Les Mills Core.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Yep.
I think that's my best program.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know.
It's not RPM.
No.
It's an interesting one.
Oh,
The reason I
I'm not
ask it is
sure
that
because I'm pretty good. I'm obviously pretty good at the bar one.
Yep.
Les Mills bar. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, it'd be pretty.
And
I ask
and
that because
then
I think
body balance.
everyone's perception of themselves is different from the perception other people have of them. I say that
Yeah.
when you know they're yes, you sort of everyone sort of goes, yeah, okay, yeah, you fit there, and sometimes you feel that yes, you do, but I think there's other times where people will sort of it's a difference. You know, I look at you and I think, you know what, yes, from understanding you from your ballet background, I think bar, core, tone, you know, body balance, yes, I tick all those boxes. When you first said that you did attack, my brain sort of went into the, say what now? When you, then just a second ago when you said you did RPM, it was like, she did what? Hang on a second, what? But at the same time, they could be programs where you yourself feel that you really sit well in, but others may not. So that's the only reason I ask is just to understand where you sort of feel you fit in the essence properly.
Oh, okay. As far as the essence, well, body balance.
Yep.
Yeah. It's probably the most natural one.
Yeah.
I first started participating in yoga when I was 16.
Yep.
And really enjoyed that, particularly the kind of mind-body connection side of it.
Yes.
And I started Pilates when I was about 11.
Wow.
So there's a lot I have been doing. That was way before anyone knew what it was.
Yep.
And then another quite like I'm quite quirky, I think. Another funny story. When I think for my either 13th or 14th birthday, my mum said to me, "Oh, what would you like for your birthday?" And I'm like, I'd like an anatomy book.
Yep.
Because I was like, oh my gosh, the human body is fascinating. I need to know more about this.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'd always been quite kind of fascinated in that. And then the what I enjoyed about yoga was that internal experience out of it. So then again, alongside the those classes that I would attend with Lisa Osborne, there was an instructor in Melbourne who I regularly attended her yoga classes as well. So I'd done quite a bit of yoga. And that probably does sit quite well with me. But then if I absolutely love HIIT training.
Okay. I'm surprised because
And
I don't see that when I understand you and know you in the way I do. I would that's a shock. I wouldn't have thought that HIIT training would be in your That's cool to know though. That's
it's just for me, there is no better feeling than and I totally get that this is not how everyone feels, but for me personally, I love it just seeing where I can push myself to physically and a lot of that is quite mental as well. And in fact, I do quite a bit of it now, as well as quite a bit of weight training. And there's a couple of reasons. So with psychology, I need that mental outlet. And also because I sit down a lot, I've actually started to get a sore back. And I thought, oh, this this is no good. I don't want to have a sore back. So I thought I need to get stronger. And I'd really let that um, become quite deprioritized through the
Yep.
pandemic. And
Yes.
we all, and I very much come from a place of feeling as though that fitness is something that I deserve and
Yes.
it's a treat,
Yep.
as opposed to it being something that I dislike. So what that means is that when I go for myself, I want it to be enjoyable, and so
Yep.
I'll do something that I feel like doing.
Yeah.
And when I'm in that hit workout, it's a form of meditation and being with myself and my breath. And I know that that sounds so different to something like yoga, but
You know,
it,
that's
it gives me that same feeling as well.
the thing I enjoy hearing about that is that you train because you want to. You train because, as you said, it's that enjoyment. It's that special treat for you. You're not training because, oh, I had that before and I've got to work it off. It's not punishment.
No,
You're doing
it
it because you
absolutely
love
is
it, and you're
not.
doing it because, you know what, I want to do this. It's my outlet. It's my way of training for me and doing something good for me. It's not because, you know what, I ate a pizza last night. Yep. I need to
Yeah.
go and train today. No, it's because, you
We'll
know
come
what?
back to that because
Yep.
I think that's a really important point to make.
Yeah. No, cool.
Mm,
I appreciate that. I
yeah. And
appreciate that a
like
lot.
this morning, I would normally have gone to the gym just after 7,
Yep.
and my body was not up for that today.
Yep.
And so I didn't, and I don't feel bad.
Yep.
I
Yep.
walked outside with my puppy,
Yep.
and she was very happy about that. And
Yes.
it's a beautiful morning,
Yep.
and yeah, so Sundays tend to be a rest day for me anyway,
Yep.
and I'll get back into it on Monday.
Yeah. Yep. No, brilliant. Nice to hear that as well.
Yeah.
How did the opportunity come up then for you to become a trainer and presenter for Les Mills?
It's another funny story.
I love these. All these good questions I'm asking, and you've got a great backstory for them. Great.
Yeah. Okay. So, um, I can't remember the exact order that all of this went in,
Yep.
but I must have been at a workshop, and I think this was when Tommy was taking over from Kylie
Yes.
as the training director at
Yep.
Les Mills Asia Pacific. So
Yep.
they were both there, I think. And randomly, I think this is what happened. We were chatting to them, and at that point, I'd seen Bevan James Isles on some DVDs,
Yep.
and I was like, wow, he's amazing. So I said, oh, can you get Bevan over to Australia? And they did. They did get Bevan over to Australia.
Love it.
To Adelaide and Perth though.
Okay.
So I
not to
yeah.
Melbourne.
So I said to my friend Amanda, we're going to Adelaide and Perth. And we booked our tickets. And on the Saturday we did the workshops in Adelaide
Yep.
with Bevan. And on the Saturday night we flew to Perth.
Oh, no way.
Sunday we did the workshops in Perth.
Yep.
And that was that, and had an absolute ball.
Yep.
And honestly, still at that stage, being on the Les Mills team just was not on my radar.
Yep. Yep.
I was honestly just enjoying what I was doing. So anyway, Kylie and Tommy were there, and we ended up talking to them quite a lot. And I think that they were kind of sussing me out a little bit, and who is this girl? Because I'd kind of come out of nowhere.
Yep.
But I'm sure that my technique and fitness and all of that was, you notice that when you're at the workshops.
Yep.
You're like,
Yep.
oh, gosh, that person moves beautifully, or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that, so they sort of found out that I was working in a gym in Melbourne at that point, and was just really into group fitness. So that's always a good indicator that someone would be appropriate for the team, that they are really into it. Because
Yeah.
as you've talked about on other podcasts. You really need to be into it
Yes.
because it's hard work.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
you need to have that passion and understanding. And I think something that Kylie and I talked about around that time or soon after was that because I had been working for Les Mills previously and I'm from New Zealand, there's a lot about the brand that I just inherently understand.
Yes. Yep.
So then what happened is that, and by the way, it was a great weekend. We had so much fun getting to see our big fitness role model and do his classes,
Yep.
and of course Bevan's such a nice person,
A genuine human.
so he
Yeah.
was happy to have a photo with us
Yep.
and that kind of thing,
Yep.
and then that would have been around the time that I'd first attended things like Philex and really
Yep.
enjoyed all of those really fun things
Yeah.
that go alongside that. And I was talking with Jen the other day Genevieve,
Yep.
about how much we just used to really enjoy hanging out and team teaching our classes and that type of thing. So it was very much probably a result of that time in our lives where our other commitments maybe weren't so intense
Yep.
and we had that extra time to be able to do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then
This is the Group X podcast.
Les Mills was holding auditions.
Yep.
And at that point, you needed to have a minimum 5 years experience. And I think I had one.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't meet their criteria.
Yep.
But what happened was they had the auditions at Melbourne Central, and I happened to be teaching my class straight afterwards.
Yep.
So turned up to teach my class, and Kylie and the rest of the panel were all in there. And apparently she turned around and said, "Why isn't that girl auditioning?" And they're like, "Oh, she's really new.
Yep.
She's only been teaching for 5 minutes."
Yep.
So guess what? She came to my class.
Love it. No pressure. None whatsoever.
Oh, no pressure. I was literally teaching tracks that she taught on the video.
Zero pressure. Zero whatsoever.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it was probably not great. But then she said, "Let me know if you'd like some feedback." And I was like, "Yes, please."
Yep.
So she gave me some feedback and I worked on it. And then the following quarter, Brent and I were invited to shadow.
Yep.
So we got up and shadowed, and that was cool. And then she said to me, "Oh, how did you enjoy that?" I said, "Oh, I really enjoyed that." And where do you sort of see yourself? And I said, "Oh," and obviously at that point I'd started to think, "Oh gosh, maybe something like this would be an option for me."
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, I'd really like to join the team." And next quarter, I joined the team.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I think it was like a month later or maybe less, Kylie called me again. She's like, "Marina's quit. You're the new trainer."
Yeah, no pressure. Here you go.
I know.
That's
and
cool.
Honestly, I was still trying to work out who I was
Yeah.
in this
In the
program.
space,
So
yeah.
anyway, that's what happened.
That's cool. I'll be honest this year and say that
that's how I got on the team.
I think that the getting rid of the 5-year rule is probably a wonderful thing that they've done because 5 years in the game is a long time, and at this day and age, I don't think many people last 5 years in the game. When it's especially since COVID, I don't think there's a lot of people hanging around. But that's a nice story, a nice backstory as well. Nice note.
And you got to take into account people's previous experience
Yes,
too. Like I
100%.
physically would have been like I've trained my entire life.
Yeah.
I know how to move my body.
Yep.
I just needed to learn how to do the talking part
Yep.
properly.
Yep. And that all
And
comes
then was
as
fortunate. Yeah,
yeah.
with practice,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Once you know the content, you know the content. You know that's a skill you can learn. I think the other part of it is something that does take time with it. And some people, I'll be honest, some people are born being a natural talker. Yeah, someone a natural presenter as well, a natural, in that way. You as you said, you started from the age of 2 in dance. You know how to get up and do stuff in front of people, and you're not. You're not embarrassed. You're not shy. You're not that kind of stuff. It comes naturally to you. It would just be honing that skill into okay, here's what I've got to deliver. Yeah, great. I'll understand the content, know the content, and away you go. So, an amazing fit if I do say so myself for that. So, yeah,
and I'll never forget one like lots of things, but one thing that Kylie said to me early on, because I was quite lucky that Les Mills flew me interstate quite a few times to spend time with her. And what that also meant was that I was able to find my feet in terms of being a presenter and a trainer, not in my home state. And
yep,
in some ways that probably takes a little bit of the pressure off.
yeah,
But she said to me, I think what she was saying was that your biggest strength is the way that you move,
yep,
which is true.
yep,
So how do you get people to look at you? Don't talk.
yep.
And I've never forgotten that. And I really will often in my classes
Wow,
think to myself, okay, how can I get my message across and say the least amount of words?
I like that. That's
Yep.
You got me thinking there. That's a good one. I
Makes
really
sense,
enjoy that.
doesn't it?
100%. How do you get someone's attention? You stop talking.
Yeah, get them to look at you.
Yeah.
And because we can coach a lot with our bodies.
Yeah.
And of course, that's why technique's important, because
Yeah.
if people are following you by the way that you look, then you need to be moving well.
Yeah.
You need to be moving well enough so that they can see, well, what's this shape?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I remember my first workshop in Perth. And I think Kylie had given me track 4. And then when I got there, she said, oh, you can teach track 2 as well. Because we did a practice class and I taught track 2. And honestly, when she was teaching the 1, I was so terrified. I was really close to just tapping her on the shoulder and saying, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
You just teach.
You do it. Yeah.
Because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm that nerves.
Quite glad I didn't do that.
Yeah, the nerves, and I think that's, I zero disrespect when I say this. I love when people share that position because I've been there myself, and I think a lot of us have, where you're excited, you're so excited, you'd be so bloody nervous at the same time. And it's like, I can't. Yeah. I remember with Les Mills when I was working at head office, I had to present. I was a keynote speaker for an event for the Aquatic and Recreation Institute when they had it in New South Wales up in Percolban in the Hunter Valley, and I'd come down sick and I was crook as, and Andrew Taylor was with me, and I remember 5 minutes before getting up to go on stage, I said to him, dude, I don't think I can do this. I'd worked myself up that much, and I was like, nah. And he just said to me, I'm not doing it. And it was that whole, oh shit, right? Yeah, you know what? He could have, because he knew that, so he'd trained me through everything. The whole content was stuff that Les Mills had brought out that we'd gone through together, and he was there just in case something had gone wrong. But he was just like, dude, no, you're doing this, and I'm so appreciative of that as well, because it pushes you outside of your comfort zone. I just wanted to stay in my comfort zone. No, I'm not doing this. No, can't do it. But I'm so grateful for that opportunity, and that it was probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life. you know, having that moment and being the adrenaline rush. I mean, the snotty nose and everything I had before going on stage disappeared 30 seconds after I started talking because
you forget about it.
Yeah, and adrenaline was pumping, and I was like, "Yep, I know this. This is brilliant," and had a meeting out of my hands, and it was the best experience ever. But having that, I do recall that moment as you were saying, "Oh, hang on, no, I'm going to tap AT on the shoulder and go, dude, you need to do this. I can't."
Yeah, yeah. I remember Kylie saying about training modules, you're just teaching them how to teach a class.
Yeah.
You know how to do that.
Yep.
And it's like, oh,
yep.
Good point.
Yeah. I'm actually just teaching a class. It's okay. I can, I like that. So we get ourselves worked up, don't we?
My thing would be like, are you sure I know how to do that? Are you sure I know how to do that? Because I come across as really confident, and in many ways I am, but I also have a lot of self-doubt and self-criticism that I've had to learn to channel in a more positive way, because otherwise it can be crippling.
Yep.
And actually, so on that, when I later became the head program coach, I was informed that several members of the team were really unhappy and thought that I wasn't up to it. And that was really, really hard to take.
Yep.
And the way that I got around that, or the way that I worked through that, was that I just had to get my head around complete acceptance of myself and what I had to offer.
Yep.
And that has totally changed my life as an instructor, as a trainer, and then also leading my team. Because I always just put the lens on it. Have I done my best?
Yep.
Have I treated everybody fairly? Have I given everyone a go? And then if you do all of those things, even if someone doesn't like you, it's fair enough for them.
Yep.
But at least you're doing a good job.
Yeah. The sad thing is, I think in our industry, there's a little bit too much of that, or has been. I don't know if it's still around now. That has been a bit too much of that, where someone is put in a position that other people are like, no, that person shouldn't be in that position. They shouldn't be doing that. They're garbage, they're crap, whatever. And it's not necessary. Not in group exercise. It's group exercise.
I don't think it's like that so much anymore.
Not anymore. So that's what I said. I've been out of it for 5 years, and I haven't talked for the last 5 years, so I'm not privy to it as much. But I know that it did exist.
Yeah.
And that I don't like. I don't like hearing it, because it's group exercise. Let's be realistic. It's group exercise. It's not life and death. You know, it's not. Oh my God! If you don't do this, then you're not going to get an Emmy or a Grammy or a Tony Award or whatever it may be. You know, it's group exercise.
A Tony Award.
You like that? You see, I'll put that in there. Oh, you got to show them in when you can. They're always good ones. Yeah,
nice
yeah. But I've seen it before, and I don't appreciate it in our industry, and I don't think that it's necessary at all. We should be there supporting each other, and I think there's more of that now. There's more acceptance, and there's more supporting each other now than there ever has been. But it's not needed. It's not necessary when it's around, because it's jealousy. It's bullshit. It just is not needed around. It's not accepted anymore.
And I think I think really deep down what it comes from is a place of, I really wish that was me.
Yep.
And that's actually fair enough, and it's valid.
Yep.
And also, often when someone might get a role or get an opportunity, you probably are good enough.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's fair enough to be disappointed if you wanted that and you didn't get it that time. That does suck. And you're allowed to take some time to just process that and then think about, well, what is it that invigorates you or keeps you going? So that was actually a big turning point in my career.
Yeah. Awesome. Yep. Look, I'm not sitting here in front of you to blow smoke up you or anything like that, or tell you how great you are. They obviously saw something in you that they realised they needed for that position, and That's a thing is to me, when I see that, and when I'm chatting to most of the head trainers and that kind of stuff, I think it's brilliant because you guys have a skill set that is what's right for the business. You know, whether another trainer or another instructor.
Try.
Yeah, you try, but I think everybody that I've spoken to, I don't believe there's anybody out there that is in the position they shouldn't be at the moment. Yep. Previously,
and
could
you
be
wouldn't
different, but now,
do it.
yeah,
If you really, really wouldn't do it unless it was something that you felt passionate about.
Yes.
Because it's quite a thankless job.
Yeah.
It's quite a lonely job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, when you teach and you're really co-creating the experience with the people in the room.
Yep.
Well, that's how I feel anyway.
Yep.
I get so much back from them. And in any kind of like a GFM role or sort of head coach role, you're very much projecting your energy to the people in your team.
Yeah.
And you're not expecting it to come back because that's just not that job.
Yep.
So it's a very different role, and you're backing your team up behind closed doors when they might not be aware of it.
Yeah.
And you're trying so hard to create opportunities for them and put them forward for different things and that type of thing that I think that a lot of people wouldn't be aware of.
This is the Group X podcast. I enjoy hearing that because I've had a chat to some guests recently with regards to that exact topic when there are trainers or head trainers on teams that aren't putting their team members up and holding them up high. They actually use those members to climb on top of so they shine. Now that sits so wrong with me on so many levels, not only in our industry now, but every industry. If you are a team leader or a position in where you're managing a team, your role is there to hold those people up so they shine, and that is how you shine. Yeah, not by pushing them down and then climbing on top of them to get higher up. You get them shine and make sure they're delivering the best they possibly can from the skills you've been able to give them and the help you've been able to give them. That's how you shine as an individual in that team. And I think when talking about the role that you're in now, the team that you have are all shining because of what you're able to do for them, which makes you shine. Yeah, you're not one of those people that we've seen that
is unbelievable.
Yep.
I am sorry, but my team is a 12 out of 10.
11, yes.
Far out.
Love it. Yep.
Whoa, because I obviously get to see all their videos and talk to them.
Yep.
I mean, my team is diverse. There's a huge range of different strengths. They work so hard to do everything that they do. They don't take things for granted.
Yep.
They support one another. They are hilariously funny. They are super creative.
Yep.
They're always challenging me to think of new ways to present material to them and to for us to think of ways that we can create the best experience that's unique.
Yep.
And for the people that come to our workshops and the training modules, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, they are amazing. And I know that you spoke to James already, and he's inherited the Les Mills bar team from me, but I feel the same about them as well.
Yep.
And that was a team that I was able to build from the ground up, and they are phenomenal.
Yep. No, when we finish this, I need to grab some more names off you for people I need to interview and get on here as well. So before we finish up, because I want more of your team on here to have a chat to as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a huge team, so you're going to be going for a while.
That's all right. Look, I plan on doing this for 5 years.
Okay, cool. What was I going to say? Something that's important to me is to also think about, okay, well, who can do this job next?
Yes.
Not how long can I hold on to it for?
Love that. No, look, that's I think it was Matt Thraxton, the chat I had with him, that he was very much similar to that I will keep doing this until there's somebody else that can do it better. And I think that's
Okay.
when I say that, training people up to make sure that they are as good or if not better than you, then you know your time is to step aside and go, hey, you can take this now. I can step aside because my time here is done, to go, yep, cool. I think it was him. Or was it
Yeah,
David?
I did listen to that, and I think you're right. I think that the role that I'm in is probably a little bit different to that,
Yep.
because
Tell us a bit
I'm just
about that.
thinking through my team. I reckon that everyone in my team could do my job
Okay.
and do it really well, and they
Yep.
do it differently to me, and that's absolutely
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So and there's instructors that are not on the team that are so good enough to be on the team.
Yep.
And I never forget that, because
Yep.
I don't think that I'm better than
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
I just happen to be in this job at the moment, um and I know I'm good at it.
Yep.
But there's so many other people that would be just as good
Yeah.
and would
Yep.
bring really wonderful, wonderful things to it. So yeah,
I just want to say right now,
that can be
you
hard.
mentioned
Yeah.
something
Yes.
before about self-confidence.
Mm.
You are a very confident person. You are a very self-confident person. I know
Thank you.
that you said
Well, I
that,
know
that
who
it's
I
something.
am.
Yeah. That's I think a big
Yeah.
thing for us, for everybody these days in group exercise is when you know who you are and you work out who the hell you are, you become the ultimate you, and
Yeah. And you
you
can
sit.
live by your values.
Yeah, you sit within yourself. Now,
Mm.
I had moments recently where a few people have said some stuff that has got me down, and putting myself out on this
Oh.
platform in this way has been it's opening. You know, you put yourself up to scrutiny.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
massive thing, and I let some comments from some people really get me down, and it wasn't until I sort of went, you know what, it's not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. You don't need to like everyone, and not
Mm.
everyone's going to like you. And it
Okay,
was that.
I'll share something. Um, the CFO from a big company that I used to work at told me this anecdote, and it's like, at Christmas with feedback. So she prefaced it by saying, "We all know feedback's a gift," and then she said, "But the way that I think about it is kind of like Christmas gifts. So some gifts you get at Christmas time are
Yes.
really practical and useful.
Yep.
So, and some gifts you get, you're like, oh man, I've wanted this for the last 15 years. I can't believe it. This is the best thing ever. I'm going to use it every day."
Yep.
And some gifts you throw in the bin.
Yes.
Because I was
Yep.
debriefing some feedback that I'd had, and she said, "And that one you throw in the bin."
Perfect.
And I was like, really? I
Yeah.
can just throw it in the bin?
I could just, yeah.
All right then.
I love that. Thank you, because that's reinforced in my mind exactly where I was at, and I appreciate that in a big way.
Yeah, and I think also when people are really critical of, say, something like a podcast or a presenter or someone on a video or whatever it might be, um, they probably just need to take a little step back, and
Yeah.
it's okay if it's not their preference,
Yep.
but we don't need to be rude about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just put yourself in that person's shoes,
Yeah.
because you'll know how hard it was for me to commit to this. And one of the reasons is that, yeah, it's pretty full on,
Yep.
because once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're doing that all the time, and I have so much respect for that, because that's tough.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and people have said it to me, and it's, yeah, I'm going to sit in that and say thank you. I really do appreciate you saying that. It's
Right.
it's a
You won't throw that one in the bin.
no, no, I won't throw that one in the bin at all. That one's staying. I'm writing that one down and sticking it on the wall. That one's staying for good. It's it's been it's a, as I said, a very confronting thing to do, but putting it out there and chatting to all you guys is part of the bigger picture of sharing stories and getting people talking about group exercise even more. And getting people to realise the power that group exercise has, not only for a gym to see the value in it, but for every single person, to a participant that walks in once that may not come back again, but they walked in and had that experience and shared something with you that you don't know what that end result was for them later on in life. You know, that one moment of them coming to your class could have been amazing for them. And that's more about what I'm trying to share with everything here. But no, thank you. Thank you very
Hard
much.
to put yourself out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
But those are the times where our lives can be so much richer.
Yeah.
And we can have these experiences that change us or help us to evolve as humans, or just bring out something that maybe we thought we could never do, and actually we realize that we can do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was even a little bit fun.
Now I wanted to ask you about filming, if I can.
Oh yeah.
Your experience with filming.
Well, I've done 3 of them.
Yep.
So the first one that I did was at the end of 2014.
Okay.
I think it was.
Yep. So a while back.
And I ended up shadowing on that one.
Yep.
There were a lot of people on that video. So
that was for RPM, was it?
Grit.
Grit. Okay. Yeah.
Grit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't wait. Whenever I say that I love Grit, I always see people look sideways at me like, are you joking?
Yeah.
I'm like, I am an animal in the Grit studio.
They just haven't seen it.
I'm a weapon.
But
yeah. I'm pretty sure that there's some people in that studio that would be scared of me.
Yep. Sorry.
Actually, I remember one of my friends came to one of my Les Mills core classes, and he was like, I'm terrified of you. And I'm like, well, that's just very direct coaching.
Yep.
I'm not doing body balance now. I'm like,
yeah,
get into your side
different.
hover. Get into it now.
Yeah, do this.
Yeah, and that is so different to body balance, where it's much more of an invitation and a really personal kind of way of going through the class, whereas it's quite technical in core, and it's like, do this, do that, do it quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I shadowed on that, and then not long after that, I went over again and taught, and that was for body balance. So the first one was body balance 68, and then the second one was body balance 73. And that was a fantastic experience. It was so good, like great team. I had Tiago from Brisbane there with me, and also I met Lucy, who's a Kiwi, and that was her first one as well. And
Brilliant.
We just hit it off and have remained really good friends ever since.
Yep.
And it was just a beautiful release, and I learned a lot, and that was a great one.
Was that filming done
really,
in
really
the big studio
time.
or was that done off-site?
Yes. No, that was probably towards the very end of the still filming in the studios.
In the big studio. Wow.
So that was in Studio 1. Yeah.
That experience.
Yeah, but that must have been around the time that they were starting to plan for Les Mills Plus.
Yep.
And I can't remember how explicit they were, but obviously things that some things you just know are not things that you're going to go and blab about. But I remember Kylie saying to me, look, we are kind of shifting who the audience is for these filmings, and so we're going to be changing the language a little bit to cater to the instructors and to people at home and that type of thing. And so there was some coaching around that when I went over for that video, and that must have been right at the beginning of it. Reflecting on having worked for Les Mills for more than 15 years now, and worked in the gyms over there and then over here for LMAP for, I don't know, 14, many years. All the years.
Yes.
It must be around close to 14, which is unbelievable. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Lots of time.
Yep.
And Um, what I mean, I personally love the product. I wouldn't do it if I didn't.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I just love it. I think that I don't know how they managed to time after time after time do such a great job,
Yeah.
but they do.
Yep.
And then one thing that I first came across when I worked in the gyms was that if you have a good idea, they'll try it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I'm sure with Les Mills Plus, which is an app that can be used at home for people, they were probably like, "Hey, let's try it."
Yeah.
And they'd done a little bit of the at home market in, I think, in Southeast Asia. They did like a bit of stuff, and then they'd done some in America where they'd filmed these videos that I think were like you could maybe I think maybe the Southeast Asian one you could get it in a cereal packet,
Yes.
and then the other one you could get like this makeup bar that you could make up at home. And the philosophy behind that was that for a lot of people they feel too intimidated to go
To go.
straight to a class in the gym,
Yes.
and so one way to kind of help people to feel more confident would be to give it a go at home first. So that was the intention behind that.
Yep.
It wasn't to steal people away from the gyms. It
Yeah.
was actually to feed into the gyms.
Yeah.
And I think that what Les Mills On Demand and Les Mills Plus has shown us is that that's actually what that does.
Yeah. Completely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
I
And for
think.
people that are time poor
Yeah.
and they can only do it at certain times, well, that's awesome that they can do it at home.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah.
It means that they're able to maintain their fitness and do something they enjoy.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. 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 I
Yeah.
totally
So I
agree.
did that one,
Yep.
73. And then I did 88, which was the one in Sydney.
Oh yes. Yep. Just before
Yep.
craziness
And that was
hit us.
also really, really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was at a psychology conference in Germany, and I got this email, I think, saying, "Oh, we're going to film in Sydney."
Yep.
So I think something else had fallen through, and then they were like, "Okay, well, we'll do one in Australia."
Yeah.
So I think they had to put it all together fairly promptly. And can you put some names forward? So I put some names, and almost everyone that I put forward ended up on the video,
Excellent.
which is
Excellent.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And it was a big team, and honestly, it was really, really fun.
Yeah.
So that was so cool. And I think extra special because so many of our friends were there, and it was pre-pandemic. And
Yep.
even when I taught classes to our instructors online during the pandemic, you could feel that connection with them again.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know that a lot of us just really, really treasured having had that time.
Yeah.
And it was just another one of those moments in my Les Mills career. And I'm very aware of the fact that I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
And I've actually never expected any of it. And people that know me well could tell you that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Like I apparently back in the day when I was on the team was the only person that on the team that didn't put that they wanted to be on a DVD. Kylie said, "Oh, you haven't put that you want to be on a DVD." And I was like, "Well,
It's not what it's about.
that's a bit of a silly goal. That's a bit of a silly goal."
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't control whether someone chooses me for that or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd rather have a goal that's something that I can personally influence.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Because there's
perfect.
a lot of factors that go into who's going to be chosen for something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't, so I never expected to ever be put on one of those.
Yeah.
And I never expected, any of it really. I've never expected to have the chance to teach at the big live events.
Yep.
Even this year,
Yep.
I had to double check that I was teaching for body balance. I was like, "Oh, am I teaching too?"
Yep.
Because I put people forward for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then again, I did not expect that it was a given that I would definitely do.
Yeah. Yep. Look, I
Maybe I
think
should have.
that's,
And then, yeah.
that word that I don't like using, but that authentic. So authentic in what you're saying right now. I need to come up with another word. I really hate that word. I really, really hate it. But the meaning of what it is.
Values driven
Yeah,
or wholehearted. What about wholehearted?
I've been using that one a fair bit recently, so it may go down that one. But you are the meaning of that word. Yep.
Yep. That's my number one value.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No.
But it is. And it's what I always check myself against.
You don't need to be sorry for that. You
and
don't need to apologise for that
what
one
it
at
means,
all.
what it means is that I can make mistakes.
Yeah.
And work through them. And I think that that's important because we can't learn without sometimes getting things wrong.
Yeah.
And I've been really lucky that I've had some really supportive leaders, which I do at the moment with Rio and Amanda,
Yep.
where I can go to them with a wacky idea, or I can just say, I'm really struggling with this and I need to have a really open and honest conversation with you about it.
Yep.
Because I need this to be more balanced.
Yep. Yep.
And then they'll give me their perspective and there's no judgment.
Yeah.
And then that means that I can then do a really good job myself and feel supported and valued.
Yep.
And I do feel really valued by them.
This is the Group X podcast.
I want to come back to something which now I'm just trying to remember who it was that talked about this, because I have listened to a few of these episodes.
Thank you.
And someone was talking about how they had gone over to participate in quite a few filmings.
David?
Oh, maybe it was Lou. Oh, David, maybe, yeah. And that is something that I think has been quite influential on me as an instructor as well. So
Yep.
my friend Sammy and I, we used to just jump on a plane, go to Auckland, do millions of classes, jump on a plane and come back.
Yep.
And it was really fun. And sometimes it would be filming classes and sometimes it would be their practice classes and that type of thing. But I have this vivid memory. We rocked up to a pump filming, and look, I'm not great at pump, I'll be honest. But Sammy was teaching pump, and so of course I went to pump. And also because pump often had those real rock star, it's got the beat and they're really
big personalities.
Oh, they're so charismatic and like Emma Barry and Susan Tolley, Renata. Yeah, so we got to the gym and there was this big massive line, and so I'm quietly cracking it because I'm like, oh, can't believe I got up at 6 a.m. to line up. This sucks. So anyway, I think we were the last two people that they let in, and at that point they had this big I don't even know, the words have escaped me, like this massive structure that they would wheel into the studio and put a couple of like the big cameras onto.
Yep.
We were behind that.
No.
We couldn't even see the stage. Neither of us had a step because they'd run out.
Oh no.
I think we had a bar and a couple of piddly weights between us.
Yep.
But we could hear.
Yep.
We could hear and then occasionally pop our head round
the corner.
And see what was happening on stage. And no joke, I got goosebumps.
Yep.
I got goosebumps from the way that some of them were teaching.
Yeah.
And I just even just memories like that is super, super special.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to quite a few of those. And then another funny story, because you know how they used to take all the photos in those master classes?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'd often end up in the notes, but usually I would be blurred out.
Why?
I think it's because I just have unbelievably good-looking best friends, and I'm not ugly, but my friends are ridiculous, and so they'd be like, "Oh, she's really hot," so they'd zone in on them and then blur me out, and it got to the point where we just used to laugh our heads off.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yep.
So you were
So
in the
I've been
notes,
in lots
but
of
you
notes,
just you
blurred.
you just got blurred.
Blurred. Yeah, and then people would be like, "Is that you?" Yeah, that's
Yeah,
me.
that's me. Yeah.
I'm blurred out.
The smudge.
again.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Hey, I wanted to ask you a question with regards to filming and the lead up to filming, as in 5 minutes before you go on. What's going through your mind?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
going through your body? What do you do in that preparation to center yourself and get ready?
Oh, I'm panicking. I'm panicking and having an out-of-body experience.
Excellent.
I know you're not supposed to say that, but
No.
I'm ready to tap Kylie on the shoulder and say, "Babe, you just do my track, okay?" I'm happy to shadow.
Yeah, you've had 2 weeks lead up to this. No, I can't do this. I can't do. I love it, and I asked that question, and people have said to me,
panic.
people have said to me, Tony, why are you asking those questions? They're stupid. I'm like, no, they're not. They're unique questions, and each person has a unique experience in that I've chatted to.
Yeah. I think I really struggle, probably more than most, with my nerves in those situations. I find it really, really, really nerve-wracking. And of course, we all know that the only way to get better at that type of thing is to do more of it. But
Yep.
those opportunities don't present themselves very often.
Yep.
So it's a little bit of a catch-22. And the way that that's played out is that, I haven't always felt really, really happy with how I've performed. But what I do, so the things that I do to help myself are I use a lot of visualization, imagining what it's like in that room with those people in front of me. That's the main one.
Yep.
That is the main one. I practice it out loud lots and lots and lots of times. I know what it is that I'm trying to focus on in each particular part. And then I remember in that filming in Sydney, we started the class and it was going really well. And it got to the point where Kylie and I, who we'd been at the front for the start of the class, and then we moved back, and we just looked at each other and we were like, "This is going really well." And we were both just so happy. Everyone was in the zone. Everyone was teaching beautifully and having a really great time. And that actually is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yes, you need to create a quality product.
Yeah.
And then the other time that comes to mind that was just such a positive experience in one of those big settings was at the first Les Mills Live in Singapore.
Yep.
I went up there and taught Les Mills Bar with Diana and shadowed body balance. And I think I'd done enough of those big events that I was able to go, okay, I need to just be so outwardly focused, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm confident, and this is a performance.
Yep.
And you're creating something for the people that are there, as opposed to in your classes. It's so different.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. And I visualized and practiced and just imagined, and I reckon that's the best that I've ever taught at one of those live events.
Excellent. I like hearing that.
And it was really fulfilling.
Yep. You know, I'm yet to ask this question, have someone turn around to me and say, "Tony, I just visualize everybody naked." You hear that on
No.
well, if you're scared, get up there and just visualize everyone either naked or visualize everyone just in their underwear or whatever it may be. And I'm like, that I can't do. I can't do that at all. I be honest, every time I get up and present somewhere, no one's in front of me. I can't see anyone.
Yeah.
I can't see anyone. As in,
Oh,
it
okay.
could be a room that's full lit, but I don't see anybody at all.
I see all of them.
No, for some reason my brain
Oh,
switches off, and I'm presenting. I'm through my stuff. The people that connect with me, I see them, but everybody else is not. I don't. That probably sounds like I'm going on this woo-woo path with all that kind of stuff, but I don't physically. I'm not. I don't actually see them. I know they're there and I know their presence is there, but I don't hone in on every single person that's in the room. I know their presence, but I can't see them until someone speaks up and says something. Then I connect with them, and then they go back to that blur sort of thing, and I'm getting my content across. And I know that's probably, as I said, probably really strange in that way, but I don't, every time I've presented, I don't see people. And that's, I don't know if that's a coping mechanism or what that is, but that's how I get through what I've got to do. I know my stuff. Yes, we're engaging with people, but there's not that fear or that knowing that you've got.
I suppose it's where your attention's going, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not. Even teaching
Your
a class,
is just really focused on what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm present.
Whereas
I'm
what's
there.
going through my mind, I'm like, I'm thinking about what I want to say.
Yep.
I'm looking at them and I'm seeing how they're responding.
Yep.
And then, no joke, I'm self-reflecting on what I've just said.
Yep. Wow.
Like because I'll be thinking about things like when you get really nervous, you'll start to repeat the same word.
Yeah.
And so then I'll be trying to stop myself from doing that, whether I am successful in that or not.
Yep.
Well, again, that's something that can really only come with practice.
Yeah.
And I feel envious of colleagues of mine that just seem to be able to get up there and confidently do it. I'm like, oh man, how do you even do that? Whereas at the end of it, if you ask my very, very close friends, I always turn around and I'm like, was that okay? Did I do a good job?
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Deep down.
And I remember watching the first, Body Balance 73.
Yep.
I think it was that one because I was teaching on it and watching it with my partner. And we were both like, okay, that is really weird.
Yeah. We're
used to watching these videos, and the poor guy had them, had endured watching many of them.
Yeah.
And we're both like, this is weird that you're on it.
Yeah.
Even I agreed. I was like, yeah, that's really weird, isn't it? Oh, that's right. I remember how that conversation came about, because what used to happen, and because it's such a huge kind of well-oiled machine now, is that you do the video, and then you'd go down just down the road to Les Mills International, and you'd get to watch it.
Watch it, yes.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that.
Yeah. And like have a few champagnes and glasses of water.
Yeah.
And
shots. Water, yes.
some snacks. Yeah. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
Really cool.
This is the Group X podcast. Why do you teach?
I teach because I personally love exercise and moving my body. And I really enjoy sharing that with other people.
Yep.
And being able to facilitate better body awareness, or feeling more confident or more connected, or helping to ease someone's level of stress, or for them to enjoy an hour in their day where they can do something for themselves, because we don't do much for ourselves, actually. I think we're all so busy and so focused on other people and our commitments in life, that my job as an instructor is to try and make your day a little bit better and to meet you where you're at, like whatever it is that you need on that day. Another reason why I personally teach is because it's quite hard, and I'm good enough.
Yep.
But I still don't know everything.
Yep.
I'm still learning. Every class I teach, I think about what went well, what I might change next time or what didn't work.
Yep.
Same with every module I teach, every time I present a workshop, I always self-reflect, and not in a way that's unhelpful,
Yep.
in a way that is like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to say, actually, that didn't go well today.
Yep.
And I know why. It's because I wasn't focused,
Yeah.
or I left my preparation till the last minute,
Yep.
or I should have just stayed with that other release that I was teaching because I hadn't practiced this one enough.
Self-awareness, a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, brilliant. Last question I'm going to throw at you. What bit of advice can you give an instructor out there that is looking to improve?
Well, probably the first thing would be understand what your strengths are already. Because when we want to improve with a really positive mindset, as we've talked about, it's a hard job, and most people wouldn't have the courage to do it. So, like, go you. And yeah, think about what you're good at. What are the things that are really special about you, and bring them to the class. I remember a few years ago, someone said to me, "Oh, do you ever crack jokes in your classes?" And I'm like, "Oh gosh, no, no. Body balance is very serious." They're like, "I reckon you should. You're hilarious." And I mean, that's obviously true. And since then, I absolutely do remain in the essence. But if something kind of spontaneously comes to mind that's appropriate,
Yep.
I will make jokes or comment on something that happens in the class. Well, for example, I was covering this class recently for one of my friends, and it was packed. And I personally find that quite overwhelming, especially if I'm covering.
Yep.
But they're a lovely, lovely class. And so, and you know, when you start the class and you know, oh, this is going to be a really, really fun class.
Yeah.
So you start the class, and then it got to the balance track, and I saw someone down the back, like we were probably in tree pose or something, and like they just like start leaning over and then smacked into the wall. And there's this big loud bang.
Bang.
And I'm like, and I just looked over and I was like, did that wall just jump out at you? I saw that. And so it kind of like lightens.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine if that was you, you might be really embarrassed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just like, well, that's just happened, and it's funny because it could be any of us.
Yeah.
And the person had been quite open to eye contact and that type of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just gonna make a joke because it's funny. Or even sometimes, because I do teach every different variation or challenge within the class, and for me personally, I can do them all. But I might just say someone's brand new and they've got really tight hips, and I'm doing this big pretzel variation. I'll just like look at them and be like, don't worry, there's always next week.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be like next year or the year after, if you come every week.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's always
next week.
I know you're holding back a little bit. So what advice? Yeah, look, film yourself.
Yeah.
Find good friends.
Yep.
Ask people, and because it is really daunting to ask people, what feedback would you give me? So the way that I frame it, because they're like, oh, nothing, it was great. It's like, well, everyone's got something that they can improve on.
Yes.
Okay, hey, what was one thing you really liked about that class?
Yep.
And sometimes they'll say stuff that you just hadn't even thought of.
Yeah.
So, and if you could give me one thing to work on, or one thing I could do differently, what would it be?
Yep.
And just keep it really open like that.
I really like that question. That they not so much give me feedback, because if you're really good friends with them, they're going to tell you that, yeah, everything's great. I don't want to know what was great. I want you to tell me, give me one thing that I can work on. No, I know I'm great. No.
I do want to know. Because being in my role, I don't get much of that sort of feedback.
Yeah.
And I think
Yep.
sometimes people are like, oh no, I couldn't give you that feedback. I'm like, yeah, you
Yeah, you
could.
can. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's one thing I
And
remember.
or say, hey, you did a really good job. And for me to also believe that.
Yep. One thing that, as a Group X manager back in North Sydney many moons ago, I had issues with giving people feedback in classes that I wasn't trained in. Now, what I
Oh
realise
yeah, that's tough.
now,
But you can give people a different perspective.
yes, exactly. That's the
Yeah.
feedback. But a lot of the people back, and I'm going to say back in the early 2000s, when I was new to
Oh
the
yeah.
industry as well, way back when, and when I'll say Group X was really pumping compared to what it is post-pandemic now. Instructors back then that were at the top of the game were like, well, you can't give me feedback. How can you give me feedback? It's like, I don't need to have done 500 hours of yoga training in order to give you feedback.
No.
That's what I realise now. Back then, I was like, yeah, you're probably right. I wouldn't have a
Yeah.
clue. Yeah. Now, though,
I
and that, I
know,
think
it's
as experience and as time as we go through, as a Group X manager these days, I want people to feel confident that they can give feedback. You know, they can give feedback to you as an example, or you know, Lisa Osborne as an example as well. You know, that everyone has got something that they can offer someone, whether that person decides to take it on board or not. As you're saying before, it's like a Christmas present. you choose what you want to choose. But we can all give feedback, but it's how you deliver the feedback as well as having the confidence to give feedback, but also having the confidence to ask for feedback, because we're only going to improve by asking people, hey, what did you think of that?
Yeah. And what the way that we approach it from sort of a more advanced perspective in Les Mills, and this I think is really good and maybe something for people to think about it, is that we think of it as coaching as opposed to feedback.
Yep.
So when I coach my team, and I do often say this to them, I'll coach them first, and then I may give my own perspective with the caveat that I'm only one person.
Yeah.
And so they don't actually have to do it, because my preferences may not be the same as theirs.
Yes.
For example, there's a number of people on my team that are very amazing with detail, and I'm not. I don't care.
Yep.
I just don't care.
Yep.
It's not important to me.
Yeah.
So I do need to meet their needs by trying to cater that and provide them with that that level of detail that helps them to function at their best. But my feedback is going to be not along the lines of that detail, within reason. Like, you need to do it properly.
Yeah.
But I don't really care where your little finger is, as long as you've provided me with a rationale as to why you put it there.
Yes.
So instead of being like, is this a flexed foot or a straight knee or a bent knee?
Yep.
Well, what do you think the benefits of both would be?
Yeah.
How do you think a normal person in a normal class would approach this move? And what would the limitations be if they did have straight knees?
Yep.
Oh, they wouldn't be able to do it because they don't have our hamstrings. You're
Yep.
right.
Yep.
So that means that we probably should bend our knees.
Yeah.
And just try and get them there that way.
Yep.
And then the coaching is more around questioning. So, like, how do you want to show up when you're teaching? What would that mean? And if you watched that back, how would you know that that's what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the barriers holding you back? Oh, I don't think I'm good enough. Okay. Well, then working through that. Or I don't think I'm flexible enough, or whatever it might be. Or someone 20 years ago told me that I don't have the right shape for this, and so I should never do it. Well, let's pop that one in the bin.
Yeah.
So trying to sort of ask questions so that the person can and you might have an idea of where you're trying to get them to, but you want them to get there by themselves, as opposed to you just telling them.
Yeah.
We tell people in initial module training because they don't know.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
But beyond that, no.
Yeah.
We want people to be able to use their own brains, because it's going to be more rewarding to them. And it's going to be creating skills and experiences that they can use in lots of other parts of their lives,
Yeah.
lots of other careers, jobs, as parents, whatever it might be, as opposed to it just being like, do this,
Yeah.
do that. It's quite a punitive way of approaching trying to help someone.
Yep. This is the Group X podcast. Is there anything in the fitness industry that you believe needs to change?
Well, I think that the fitness industry is and has been undergoing quite a significant amount of change. One part of that would be the digital kind of on demand platforms that have emerged and are so popular, and that's great because it means that there's new people that have been able to access things that perhaps they didn't in the past.
Yep.
I think that we've got some work to do around inclusivity. And I know that this has started. We've got a long way to go. We are still operating in an industry that thinks that fitness looks a certain way, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Research absolutely backs that. There is not a look that determines someone as fit or unfit. And by perpetuating the stigma, all that does is that it excludes most people. And I'm saying that from someone who has been called fat, and I'm not. And even if I was, who cares? Like, whatever. My body is my business.
Yeah.
And like, you already know, because I've told you that I exercise because I love it.
Yeah.
But it breaks my heart that there are so many people that are excluded, that feel unwelcome, that feel like they couldn't step foot in a gym or do fitness because they'd be judged, and that there's people that do judge them based on the way that they look.
Yep.
It's really, really sad. Yeah.
No, I
That needs to change.
yeah, 100%. You've touched on something there that I think we don't talk about enough in the industry. We don't, it's
No.
you've nailed it. You've nailed it 100%. It's fitness is different to every single person. There is not, hey, this is fit.
I know.
Fitness could be,
And
someone
my
walking from
percentage of
here.
my percentage of body fat, or the way that my muscles look, or the number of wrinkles on my face
Yeah.
is the least interesting thing about me.
Yeah. We all get old and wrinkly so at one point in time. But
and I frown a lot, so and I have a very expressive face.
Gonna say, you've seen the size of my forehead, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a massive one too. But gosh, I've had friends that have died, and that's way too young to die.
Yeah.
And whenever friends or loved ones, because that is going to happen to all of us, and it makes me dig deep and think, am I living the life that if it was over tomorrow, I'd feel like I was really happy with the way that I lived that?
Yeah.
Now we've gone really deep, haven't we?
But I appreciate it.
So some of those quite short-sighted things that from the outside we unbelievably perceive as being healthy are actually really unhealthy.
Yep.
And it's really, really sad that means that then people feel as though that's what they need to do as well in order to be accepted. And can I just say that I've never felt that working for Les Mills Asia Pacific.
Yep.
They're very inclusive and
Yep.
have never been anything but supportive. And even when lots of people did kind of lose their fitness and everything after COVID, and it was like, just take your time, guys.
Yep.
It's been a really hard time. let us know how we can support you.
Yeah.
And even when we audition and everything, we take people from all walks of life, because that's that's what fitness is about.
Yeah.
It's not about a single kind of
It's not about a
thing.
look.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that would be my biggest hope for the future, is for it to be more inclusive, and for us to just be aware of what biases we've got, and how even the language that we use, the way that we teach. If there's someone in a larger body that comes to my classes, I change my coaching
Yep.
to include that person as much as I can,
Yeah.
because I just think, okay, your body's going to move a little bit differently to mine. Where do you need to put your foot
Yeah.
for this to work for you? Because
Yep.
I really want you to come back and for you to feel always welcome. There's someone that came to my class that had a heart attack and was significantly out of shape and couldn't even get down to the floor and get back up, and it was body balance.
Wow.
And I worked it out pretty quickly, so I quickly ran down. I was like, "Hey, mate, you're not able to get down to the floor, is that right?" And they were like, "Yeah, okay, this is what we're going to do."
Yep.
Quickly came up with it, and like even my class afterwards were like, "Oh, you did so well. Keep coming back. You're always welcome. Grab it, like, we can put a seat down the back. You can rest anytime you like." Just stuff like that, like
Yep.
whether it's body inclusivity, whether
I
it's
love that.
like anything. And this is the time we need to ask ourselves those hard questions and listen,
Yeah.
and not be offended if we muck it up
Yep.
and someone gives us that feedback, because I'm always challenging. I grew up in ballet. Like, that is so biased and unhealthy
Yep.
in many ways.
Yep.
Not for everyone, but
Yep. Yep.
it's certainly not an exclusive environment.
Yeah.
And if we really are being honest with ourselves, and we're being authentic, that we actually care if people are able to get fitter, well, then we need to walk the talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
coming on
But wait,
and
there's
having.
more.
There's
No,
wait.
there
There's
isn't.
there's steak knives. What? I didn't know I was giving them away. No, thank you so much for coming on the show and having a chat with me and spending an hour and a half of your time sharing your life and your story and chatting to get group exercise spoken about more often and in the right way. So I really do appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're very welcome.